Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Global Badass Goddess and Glenda Music. Today, we are talking with Sue Clowes. She's living in Italy right now, originally from England, London. And Sue Clowes is an English textile fashion designer, and she's known for her collection that launched Boy George, and the Culture Club in 1981. Throughout Klaus's career, music and musicians have influenced her work. So we're gonna actually take the time to talk about that, what that's like. How do you step into your own empowerment as a woman, as an artist, and let's just talk about it and meet her, and I'll let her say a few things. So hey, Sue, welcome to the
Thank you.
show.
Thank you for
Yay.
having me on.
Yeah. So well, that's it's so funny because I'm a singer songwriter, and grew up in those times. And it's so funny because I've had other artists and musicians around me all my life, but I wasn't really into the textile, into the you just wear it, you weren't. I wasn't even thinking about the art part of it. That's what I loved about David Bowie so much, was because he was this artist and he became this and he did that, and just a true artist, right? So this is kind of my first experience really having a wonderful conversation with not only being a woman in that field and being so dynamic and really far reaching. So I'd love to just ask you a few questions, like, when you were starting out in the 80s, was it what was your passion? Was it difficult to start designing, or did you just have like all these ideas?
Well, the difficult thing was in the 80s and when late 80s when I left art school was there was a terrible recession in the UK. There was a Margaret Thatcher and there was like I don't 12,000 people unemployed. So you suddenly came out of art school and there was no jobs. You thought
Yeah.
you were going to go and work as a designer and nothing. So you literally had to start your own thing up. You literally there was that. You had an idea, and I was really lucky. I lived with a house full of musicians, and so I thought, right, well, I'm gonna start doing t-shirts, and so I made a living printing t-shirts and selling them on Camden Lock Market. Camden Lock Market then wasn't a touristy thing. It was like
Right.
for, people going down to look for alternative clothing,
Right.
hats and anything weird, not
Yeah.
like today. Today it's really just for tourists going down there. But that at that time Sunday was sacred. You went down there and if you were looking for a sort of a rockabilly jacket, you were down there looking for a rockabilly jacket, and or because there were so many different there were punks, there were rockabillys, there were Teds, Teddy boys. There was new wavers. There was reggae. There was a whole cross section of different music genres, and they're all coming down there to look for their little piece that goes with their look.
Yes.
And that was really exciting. I loved it.
Yes.
So my thing was printing on things for really any genre really that would buy it. So I'd be doing things like stuff maybe for Madness, for like the specials and that kind of those kind of black and white stuff, and then I'd also be doing stuff with guitars all over, which I sold to Robert Smith from the Cure, which was like, oh my God, yeah.
Right. Right.
Sold that to him. That was like my first sale to a pop star. Whew.
Yeah.
And then just really to loads of people just came down and they, can you do this like this? Can you do this like this? And then I slowly built up a clientele, yeah, on a market stall. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Gosh, what a wonderful time. Did you live near Camden, or did
Yeah, I lived
oh,
in Camden. I lived in Kentish Town.
okay, okay.
Yeah, so I didn't have a car, so I had to lug everything to the market stall early in the morning. That was the only way to do it. Yeah. And then you know, come rain or shine. And but another thing was a lot of the money I made, I just spent it back on buying clothes.
Of course you did.
You know, I'd see some really nice boots or something at the end of the
Uh-huh.
day, and I just went and bought the boots, you
I
know.
know, I know, I love it. I love it. And from what I understand, you have a new pair of boots now.
Oh yes, yes, yes. I've got them behind me, yeah.
I love it. I love it. Wow. So as an artist, what would you consider yourself a genre, or would you just sold to a variety of artists?
Yeah, I've never really considered myself as an artist in the sense, yeah,
Mm,
no, I'm not an artist. I have no friends who are artists who are brilliant. I've always thought of myself as a sort of a designer, really,
uh-huh.
and a kind of what's the word? Yeah, look at a designer that finds loopholes, you know, that finds a place where that's needed, you know, that sort of thing. If you, yes, I like to think of more as designer. I know artists who are just really real artists. They can just like paint and do the most
Yeah, yeah.
amazing things, you know.
Gotcha.
But
So
I can't do that. Not
gotcha.
in that sense, no.
Yeah. So do you just like, how does that happen for you as a creative? Because are you just like just letting it flow through you to get, like, you look at something and get an idea and go, oh, I'm going to do a bunch of these crosses, like I'm going to make them go this way. How does that happen for you as a designer?
Music has always been my thing. I mean, whenever I was printing, because I'm a printer, I'm a silkscreen printer. I didn't really study fashion at art school. I got into fashion because I had to find a way of using my prints.
Right.
So I'd, have the drop down 45s, all stacked up,
Yeah.
and I'd be listening to, Another Girl, Another Planet, or I'd have all those things on Iggy Pop, getting you in the mood. And I'd expose something on a screen, like maybe I'd seen something, because I worked out this way of, do you know anything about silkscreen printing?
Just a hair, not much, but
No,
because
well,
nobody else will, so it's fine.
what it is a way that you can get an image onto a screen that is photosensitive. Say for example, I wanted to put a triangle. I wanted a triangle. You coat the screen with an emulsion. You put like a black triangle on it, and you put it under a bright light. Now, where the bright light can't reach the triangle, the emulsion doesn't stick. So when you wash it, it washes away, and there you have a triangle on your screen.
Gotcha.
So you have the triangle on the screen, and then you pull the ink across it. You put the screen on a t-shirt or a piece of fabric. You pull the ink across it. Hey presto, you've got a triangle. But what I used to do is I used to take photographs. I used to love to take photographs. I used to take photographs of people
Mm,
and of guitars or things that were relevant at that time, living with a house load of musical people. And then I used to put them, expose the photocopies. I fiddled a way of putting that on a screen, and the light would go through the photocopies. So I used to get this
wow.
mishmash of like strange images of sort of broken guitars because the things didn't work. But that was the beauty of it all. The things
Mm,
were never clear. That was how I kind of developed my image, my kind of
right.
look, was because
Right.
nothing was ever perfect. It was always something wrong, with the print. So I'd then print all the guitars in different colors, and then I'd airbrush everything. So I kind
Wow.
of built up this collages of silkscreen printing onto whatever I could sell. And people would
Wow.
say, "Can you do that on a scarf? Can you do that on a cushion? Can you do that down the front of my jacket? Can you do that on the back of my jacket?" And so
Can you do that on my guitar case?
yeah, yeah. Can you exactly? Can you do that? Yeah, anywhere. People would say, "Can you do that on there?" And I say, "Yeah, leave it with me, and I'll bring it back next week." So
That's
that
awesome.
was what I was known for. It was a silk screen printer. That was my thing. But I had to get into fashion as a way of selling the product. So I started off doing the two yearly shows, which
Interesting.
which really were a drag. Well,
Oh yeah. I want to hear about that. Not
mm,
one more runway model.
yeah, that was what it was because once you get into fashion, it's suddenly a business, and you have to produce two collections a season,
Wow.
your winter and summer.
Yeah.
And so, so because I was a textile designer, I was designing the fabric, then designing the garment, like sort of 8 months before the actual collection. It was sort of a nightmare. It was a nightmare, but
Whoa.
I managed to keep it up for 6 years, kept it up for
Wow.
6 years,
Wow.
and but it was a monster. It was
Wow.
fashion's a monster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I understand. Now, what was the big breakthrough inside of that for you as a designer?
Well, apart from the first, my first biggie was I was already printing stuff for groups and things like that and doing groups.
Yeah.
Um, But my first biggie group was Culture Club
Right.
because the bloke that owned there's a bloke that owned a shop called Street Theatre when the Blitz Kids thing was in. Do you remember the Blitz Kids?
Hmm.
And everything was black and white, and so print was really out. So I had to learn how to make sort of frilly dresses and sort of a nightclub wear. And this amazing bloke opened a shop called Street Theatre, and he used to say, "Make anything what you want. Here's 60 quid. Go and make what you want and bring it to me, and I'll buy it off of you."
Wow.
And what he did was I took it to him, me and other designers, and he would then put them in the window, and if they were popular, he would make the commercialized version of them and sell them in Topshop down Oxford Street.
I remember Top Shop.
So
Yeah.
we did that. But at that time, my sister and George worked in the shop, and George really liked these ties that I was doing. I was doing these printed ties, and the shop were doing zoot suits, and he displayed these ties with the zoot suits, and they looked really, really good.
Nice.
So he sort of said, "Well, why don't you do some other stuff?" It's like, "Oh, great, back in print, back in the room, sort of thing." And so I started doing all different kind of prints. And then he got together with the rest of the group, Mikey Craig and John and they called the group Culture Club.
Right.
So the idea I came up with was taking each of their religions,
Mm-hmm.
like John was Jewish, George was Irish Catholic, Mikey was from the Caribbean heritage, and the other guy was sort of your typical English, you know, Anglican.
Mm-hmm.
So I took those images and I mixed them up,
Wow.
and they're using air guns and also this way of printing that I developed because of lack of equipment, and I came up with this really really sort of graphic collection. And the idea was that it wasn't a racist idea or anything like that. It was like embracing
Yeah.
everyone's religion. And like when footballers they finish a game, they all swap each other's shirts. It was that sort of idea, that we're all the same, we're all religious, all down underneath. We're all the same.
Yeah, we're all connected.
We're
I
all
totally got
connected.
it. I totally got it. That's fascinating. And so it just really evolved itself. It just started to unfold as life does, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think what evolved it was when I went to a culture club concert once, and there was like hundreds of fans there,
Yeah.
and that if they couldn't buy the stuff, a lot of stuff they were wearing was mine, which was it was amazing. I was thinking, God, this is amazing. But a lot of stuff, if they couldn't buy it, they were doing it themselves. Like they'd get the Rastafarian locks and stick them under their hats, so look like they had hats, and they'd stick them underneath, and they'd sort of get a paintbrush and they'd paint the thing on the front,
I
and
love it.
it was quite
I
amazing.
love it. I love your I was looking at some of your clothing and the Morpheus was really cool. Like
I like
Oh,
One second. I've got an Alexa that has her own sort of mind. Hang on a minute. Alexa, stop. She just comes on when she feels like it. Bizarre. I can't do anything about it. I've tried.
that's hilarious. See,
No,
she's
the In the Arms
listening.
of Morpheus was a collection. It was like a pajama collection. I did that the year after the Olympics as a kind of a, you know,
Oh,
after when the Olympics were in Los Angeles,
okay.
and and I did a sportswear collection for that. But the season afterwards, I just did this sort of a cool out pajama
I
collection,
love it.
and that was the print that went on for that. Went on that.
Have you like had a resurgence or anything like are people reaching out to you going, I want you to do a new collection, I want you to do this. Has that happened for you?
Oh yeah, I've had a couple of them. I did well the big one I did was Supreme. That was like unbelievable. I'd never heard of them before. When they tracked me down, I never knew who they were. And someone said when they wrote the letter, they said because they got a hold of me through my kids because I didn't go on to Instagram till about 3 years ago.
Okay.
I just didn't bother going on there. I couldn't work out how to do it. And my kids contacted me and said, "Mom, there's Supreme are trying to get a hold of you." It's like, who? And so I Googled them and well, no, the letter came first of all and said we're a company and we do skating stuff. So I thought, oh great, I've imagined myself sort of sitting on the edge of an ice rink, doing designing little tutus and things like that, with glittery, being thrown up in the air, figure skating, and I really did. I really thought. And I'd Googled it and realised it was skateboarding. Skateboarding,
Oh,
nothing to do with ice skating. I don't
that's a
really.
whole different thing.
Yeah. So, God, that was a bit shameful. But anyway, I got my time and they were brilliant. They just said, we want this, and this. Where do you imagine that we can print them? We're going to do them on the backs, whereabouts. How quickly can you get the artwork for me? So I had to go through
Yeah.
all my archives and had to make things bigger because they wanted them bigger.
Yeah.
And they paid me. Next thing was what's called a drop. They were dropped. I'd never heard that word before. It was dropped in March 23, March 23. I think it was 23. Yeah, and then sold out, and then that was it. Yeah, it was quite
Wow.
amazing.
Wow.
That yeah, that was amazing. Never had a company like that before. That
Do you
was
do you
incredible.
get paid and then do you get like a licensing fee for your
No,
how's
no,
that
I
work?
didn't do that with them. They just paid me up front. Paid me before I even put pen to paper.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Wow.
You never ever get that
Right.
with
Yeah.
anything. It's like, whoa, I hope they come back.
Well, I think we're entering into this interesting new phase, new age of creativity where, you're dealing with AI art, you're dealing with all kinds of stuff that's happening, And so, artists such as yourself, a masterful person, I'm going to use artist for you, designer, um, designer, artist, creative. Um, I think we're really entering into this new thing and also people are like, no, I want the authentic stuff. I want a human hand touching that or idea or design. You know what I mean? I want that. I want to wear that. I want to experience that. So I feel like you're probably gonna be really busy.
Oh, I hope so. Yeah, I hope
Yeah,
so.
I think so too. I think the more that you get out there, with your, people are going to go, "Oh, wow, Sue Clowes. Oh my God, yeah." And then introduce to all the new kids, all the young people, that are just like dying for something that's really
Well,
authentic.
the funny thing was,
Yeah.
I kept one thing from every collection. Most of it I left up in my mum's loft And it's quite amazing how I managed to keep some of it because she gave loads of it to the Women's Institute. She said, "Oh, that's Susan's never going to come back and take that. You can take it." And they took away loads of like shoes I'd used for shows in New York and
Oh
things
my
like that.
God. Oh my
And
God.
but the stuff I managed to get, I managed to bring back here. Anyway, I had a pair of trousers that Jonny Slut had modelled, and I sold them to through a special auction, a Kerry Taylor auction in London, and a £10,000 for a pair of trousers for it was for the person who bought it was an art gallery that bought them in Chile.
Wow.
Ten
Wow.
thousand quid, I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
And yeah, and Johnny said to me, he said, "Yeah, I bet you'll remember the day when I came knocking on your door." Yeah, yeah, that was fantastic. But yeah, I didn't realize that. I had no idea that I had this stuff that was worth all this money sitting in the loft next door.
Isn't that crazy? I
Right.
know. Oh, I love it. I love it. Wow, how fascinating. So, I'm not familiar with Johnny Slut. Tell me about that. I know you did something for Kylie Minogue and Boy George, obviously, but who is Johnny
Well,
Slut?
okay, well, after the, in the early 80s, got Coach Club and you got Bananarama. I found
I
this poster as
love it.
well
I
under the
love
bed
it.
next door. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I'm so glad you had that. I was like,
Must be nearly 50 years old.
wow.
Anyway, so I thought, oh, I must stick that up. But anyway, so I did all these bands used to come to the studio and or they get stuff from the shop, or Alison Moyer wanted something specially made for her,
Yeah.
or Jenny Bellstar did some special stuff for her. And then one day I had this knock at the door, and my name's he must have been about 18. My name's Johnny. Have you got any jobs? So I said, yeah, you can. What can you do? He said, well, I can silk screen print and and sew on buttons. So there he was. I took him on, and
Aw.
he had a small Mohican at that time. But as
Okay.
time went on, this Mohican got bigger, he got bigger and bigger and bigger.
I love it.
Yeah, and he became part of a group called Specimen, and they
Oh.
had the a club called the Bat Cave. And I think it was every Thursday night, the goth. It was the goth club. It was the go-to goth club.
Nice.
And so he started wearing my 1984 collection, which was silver crosses and silver jackets and these strange trousers that I did. And so really he was a real inspiration for me, really. After all the commercial stuff of
Yeah.
Bananarama and everything, it was quite a pleasure to do something hard, and sort of
Right.
bad. So that was quite good. And also another thing was there was a band then, you probably have heard of them. They were called SPK. They were an industrial band.
Yeah.
And they industrial band because they banged on industrial equipment and stuff like that, but they also had Bunsen burners going and fire. You wouldn't be able to do that now, but you'd have fire shows and stuff on stage. Anyway, the guy who was doing it was named Graham Revel
Hmm.
and Australian. He's the one that does all the soundtracks for The Crow. You know the film The Crow?
Yeah. Yeah.
And also the other film, I can't remember the name. They did The Crow, and I think it wasn't Batman. It was one of those Phantom films.
Yeah.
He did that too. He's really big on doing film. What do you call them? Uh,
Soundtracks. Yeah. Like,
Soundtracks,
yeah. Yeah.
soundtracks.
Hmm.
And but he started off by doing all the wearing my stuff and
Wow.
burning most of it, and doing all this industrial.
Oh my
Yeah, they used to borrow stuff and bring it back, and it was all singed. Yeah,
oh my Lord. Oh my
but
Lord.
him and his wife called Sin and Leon. Yeah, they ended up going to Hollywood and doing soundtracks, and
That's so
he's
cool.
huge now,
Yeah.
absolutely huge.
Yeah. Was that the new Crow or was that the original Crow?
I think he did all the Crows. I think he did all the
Wow.
Crow, yeah, all the
Wow.
Crow ones, all the Crow stuff.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So amazing
Well,
from
good. Well,
going
I'm
from that.
glad I asked about it because I was like, who is this person? I didn't even look him up, but
Yeah, yeah, he lives in Los Angeles and he's still doing. I looked him up myself earlier on, only to get the name Graham because it's got so many different spellings, how to spell Graham. But no, I was quite amazed as well. I wrote down. He wrote down. Yeah, the Daredevil theme. He did the
oh,
Daredevil
okay.
theme
Okay.
too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
that was
well,
amazing. They
good on
started off
him.
just doing pubs.
That's so awesome. Wow. It's fun to see how people evolve, you know.
Yeah.
One of my favorite bands is Erasure. I love
Oh, I
Erasure.
love Erasure. I love her. He's so lovely, the guy. Yeah.
Really? Oh. Okay. Um, you start playing the soundtrack in your head. Have
Yeah.
yeah.
I love the one Blue. I love the one called Was It Blue? Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Such fabulous music that came out of London for years.
So asking me about you asking about me all the time. So you were in music then? You were singing or you were
I'm professional singer, songwriter, you know, I do it all. It's been a fabulous journey. I've been singing professionally since I was 16. That was my very first paycheck. I got
wow.
$60.
How many dollars?
60. So I
Not
still get
bad.
60. The paycheck
60.
never increases. No. It's so funny. Yeah, it was really fun. Back when I was a kid, you know, it was a wedding. I sang one song and I got $60 and I thought, well,
This is it. Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Anyway.
then you carried on from there in different bands and singing.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it was just like, oh, this is what I do. You know, I had the talent, I had the gift, so I just kept doing it, kept evolving myself. I mean, even to this day, I have a vocal coach. You know, you have to. You can't just. It's like Mr. America or Mr. Universe, and then he never works out. You know, it's like no,
Yeah.
you gotta
You get yeah, 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 yeah,
you
yeah.
gotta work your craft.
You
You
got to
know.
keep going. You got to keep up the challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you do. You do. Let me tell you. Yeah, so yeah, that's what I do. And then I decided to that I really wanted to make a difference. Um uh doing a variety of things that I find interesting, and this is one of them. Getting to talk to different artists, different people, women that, you know, have really taken their journey to the next level, you know, through their life
Mm,
and given back. And I find it fascinating and interesting to just find out how do they do it? How do they have a life? What
yeah,
did they, how did what started them to be creative? You know, that kind of
yeah,
thing. So I think it's important to pass that on to people, you know,
yeah.
because sometimes I think a lot of times these days, I've noticed a lot of that I've talked to some younger women and they have no clue. Like they just don't know where to go, you
Yeah.
know? So I think it's really important for us, you know, as mature women to be able to share those things, you know?
Yeah. That you can do it yourself. You can make some way. Yeah, you got to be a bit streetwise. I mean, I think living through times when, really when the Thatcher government was in and you really didn't have any money, you really get streetwise. I remember taking bottles back to
Yeah,
get the money back on the bottles because, otherwise you wouldn't have enough money. And it
right.
was usually for cigarettes and beer. But anyway, it was. I mean, you were just finding a way of getting money because my parents never gave me all. So, I mean,
Right,
you had to work. I
right.
had to work.
Yeah, mine too.
And
Mine too. Yep, you had to get it. You had to figure it out yourself, you know,
yeah.
and that's
But the thing,
okay. Hmm.
but the thing you were going back to, were you saying to how did you start the love of textiles? And one of the
Yeah,
first questions you asked me is quite interesting because my mother never came from a very poor family in East London and married my dad. moved out to the country. And in the country, they have, I don't know if you have in America, they have what are called jumble sales, where everyone in the village every week, if it's a charity, I think they all get, well, really, they offload all the crap they don't want in the house, which is like jumpers or old-fashioned things they don't want anymore.
Right.
And it's all carted down to a local village hall, stacked onto huge
Wow.
trestle tables.
Wow.
And then at 2 o'clock, the doors open, and people go in with a bag, and you just drag stuff out from in amongst this trestle tables. Like, oh, and I'm not talking. It's about like
Wow.
you know about 3 yards high. And
Wow.
my job was there were three of us. There was my younger sister in a pram, and there was my older sister, 2 years older than me, and there was me. And my mum would designated us. I had to go and get the things that were knitted so she could unravel them and re-knit us jumpers.
Wow.
And then, or things that were velvet, things that might be costly, might be costly. My other sister was trained to tell the difference between glass and cut glass and silver and
Wow.
gold. And her job was that. And we used to go in there with our money. She gave us sixpence. We go in there and we'd drag this stuff out. And I said, how much is this? Oh, that's a penny, darling. So I put it on. But we all put it on top of my younger sister who's in a pram, all piled it on top of her. And it's amazing. Sometimes she says that she didn't suffocate because she was underneath all this stuff,
I know. I was like, where is she?
Where is she? Yeah. And then we go home. We'd take this pram home, with all the goodies on. But the thing was, my mum actually was she had we didn't know this till later, like a syndrome, like a kind of a collector's syndrome, like
Okay.
one of those syndromes where she had to pack the house out with rubbish, like
Yeah, hoarders. Is that what they call them? Hoarders?
yeah, yeah,
Hoarding?
yeah, disorder. She had I think disorder.
Yeah.
And because we didn't know that when we were young, we just thought it was all fun. But I
Yeah.
mean, the house you couldn't move. And
Wow. Oh my goodness.
my dad, who was in the Navy, couldn't stand it. It turned him to drink. He couldn't stand
Mm.
it. But the funny thing was, when she died a year and a half ago, me and my sister had
Yeah.
to go through all the stuff, and you wouldn't believe it. There were
Wow.
boxes and boxes and boxes of things that she'd bought that are unbelievable in the loft, crammed everywhere. It was like a film. It was everywhere, hidden from my
Wow.
dad. All this stuff.
Oh my
It was so
goodness.
funny.
Oh my God.
But we
You've
spent we
been there
spent
for
2 months
months. I
clearing
was
the
going to say
house.
months. You were there for months.
Yeah, we thought, no, let's just put a match to it, let's just put a match to it and walk away.
Oh my
But the
God.
stuff she'd hoarded was unbelievable. But so that, a
Yeah.
lot of and my sister's things all came from this childhood we had.
Yeah. That's so funny because what you're talking about, like what we do here in the US, is that they're they're either you go to a charity shop, right? You drop your stuff off there, or you have your own personal what we call sorry, I'm thinking in English terms. Sorry. Um what just like a garage sale, a
Garage
yard
sale, yeah, yeah,
yard
you have
sale
them.
or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And then you drag all your stuff out, and then people come by and they Jew you down like, oh, it's only $1. It's like,
yeah.
I'll give you 50 cents. No,
Yeah,
it's a
it's a bit
dollar.
yeah, it's like that, but it's in the village hall
Gotcha.
and just piled on top, part one thing all piled and piled and piled on
Yeah.
top. And it was during the early 60s, so there was stuff in there, like because it was in the country. We moved from London out to the country,
Yeah.
and there were things like riding whips and riding hats
Oh,
and tweed jackets and
that's cool though.
things that the lady of the village would give, that
Ah,
nice things.
nice. Really nice. Yeah. I was thinking about our Scottish brethren. They have a car boot sale.
Oh, car boots. I love car boots. Yeah.
My girlfriend runs one. They own it, so she does that up in Edinburgh. So
No, they got
yeah.
well. Then my mum started. You see, she started jumper sales, but when car boots came up, there was no stopping her because she could just drive there
Well, here's the
and
thing:
load the car up.
your mom had enough stuff she could have started her own.
She is, yeah, yeah, she did. In fact, she did. But she'd buy the most unbelievable. Sometimes I'd sit in the car, I was like, oh my God, my sister would in the car, like, oh my God, what the hell she bought this time? And it'd be like a giant sized panda. Or I said, what the hell are you going to do with the giant sized panda? I don't know, I liked it. And she put it in my dad's
Oh,
chair, you know.
oh, oh.
He left in the end, you know.
Yeah, poor dad. It was just like, I have no idea what this woman's doing.
Poor dad.
Well, I mean, think about it. I mean, she came from a really poor family. So,
Yeah.
that was security for her, probably, you know?
Yeah,
I
she
mean,
never had anything when she was a kid. They didn't have Christmas. They didn't have anything. So that was
yeah.
her way of
Oh,
hanging on to stuff.
oh,
Yeah.
that's tough. That's,
Sad, isn't it? Really sad.
yeah, it's really tough.
Oh.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Well, I think we can, I'd really love to maybe talk a little bit more about where you're going. What's, what do you think about the fashion today? I mean, it seems it's like fast fashion, digital identity, that kind of weird shifting cultural stuff. What's your take on what's happening today in
Yeah.
from that perspective? I'd be curious.
Well, today, I mean, to be a designer today, you've got to be like a hybrid of like, you've got to understand technology, sustainability, and at the same time develop the brand's narrative that keeps the label moving forward.
Right.
But the thing is that for example, I wrote off recently for one of these shirts that was on Temu, and it arrived,
Yeah.
and the design was great, but it was made of pure plastic. It
Plastic.
was made of pure plastic, and I had it on. I put it on, and I thought, "There's no way I can breathe in this. I don't know what the hell it's made of." You know, I sincerely believe that these things that people are wearing are cancerous. They're absolutely cancerous because your body
Yeah.
cannot breathe
Cannot.
in them.
Exactly.
And so that's another thing is the sustainability and the ethics of it. Not only is like this fabric. What the hell is this fabric they've dreamt up in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah.
It was just like a bin liner. You had it on 5 minutes and you were just sweating.
Yeah.
And then also like who's making this stuff? Little kiddies in the middle of nowhere, and how do they get rid of the offcuts? Do they burn it?
That's
You know,
right.
the fabrics are frightening. I think as a designer today, you've really got to be into research. You've really got to
You really do.
research the fabrics to make sure where they come from. If it's cotton, is it sprayed with a pesticide?
Yeah.
If it's a color and it's dyed in a color, is that color going to give you a skin reaction? And it's these fabrics are cancerous. I tell you now, they're cancerous. You cannot breathe in them. So I
Yeah.
think there's got to be some kind of and years ago you'd get the big designers. They would be using wool. They would be using fabrics that were decent fabric, but not. They're all in it now. They're all using all this
Yeah.
rubbish fabric, and so, I just think it's this really got a lot of research done on where it comes from
Yeah.
and what the long time effects is on people's bodies.
Yeah. Well, I think you're going to start to see that actually. I mean, I think about that too. I've bought a few things from Temu also and went, ooh, that doesn't feel good. That's cute. I really like that. And I've seen my closet grow going, that's really attractive, but I don't want to wear it, I don't want to touch it. So I think we're frozen.
Hmm.
Are you there? Okay. Yeah, so we're back. What was I gonna say? What
What
were
would you
we talking?
say?
We were talking about there were some things I wanted to ask you about Guys, we were talking about the textiles and how things are made these days, and it's kind of cancerous, and you got to be really careful. And I was noticing that the few things that I purchased, I thought, oh gosh, they're so cute, like super fashion, fast fashion, as they call it. But man, does not feel good. It's still sitting in my closet, and I don't want to wear it.
Ah, yeah. That's the problem. They do the lovely designs, but you get it through the post and you put it on. You think, I can wear this for about 3 minutes and I'm just going to
And that's
die.
it. Yeah,
Just there's no breathing
yeah,
possibility in it.
yeah, yeah. It's
But
really a drag.
not only that, the ethics of like for example, my daughter works for a big, big, big Italian company, and they last year. They bought from America, I think it must have been a crocodile, not an alligator. But you don't have alligators in the States, do you? You have
Yeah,
crocodiles.
we have both. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it was one or the other, huge. They brought the whole alligator over, dead,
Hmm.
brought it over to a factory, and all the sort of designers, handbag makers all stood around it, and they were told that they needed to get out of this, little bags with little gold chains on, and little in the little areas, little purses, and all the women, they all stood around crying. They all
Oh,
stood around crying because you never usually see an animal in its whole. When you
hmm.
buy a piece of leather, you just see the shape, don't you, of the leather. Or
Yeah,
if you buy a piece of meat, you never see the head or the eyes.
right.
And so there was this alligator, and there he was laying 3 meters long on a big thing, and they were there having to work out what they could get out of it. Boots, shoes,
Wow.
how many pieces they could get, how much they could get out for the price they paid. And these women, the women and the men who were standing around, whose job it was, were just in tears, just
Yeah.
like in tears. And it's like, do we really need crocodile boots? Do we really need to wear things like that? And do we really need a
Right.
handbag made of crocodile boots? I mean,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's it's just so sad, so sad.
Yeah. 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 Just really odd stuff. These are great stories too that you're kind of giving us some insights to, it's like you're right, the things that we don't think about. You go to the store, the meat is right there. You don't think about it. Well, that came from this cow. Yeah, that came from whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you lay it there, and they think, well, what are we going to do with its foot? What are we going to do with its hat slipped off? What are we going to do with his, that little bit on his back foot that's nice and scaly? Oh yeah, let's make a little handbag. That would look great on a gold chain. I mean, isn't that horrible?
Right?
It's
Yeah.
horrible.
Ooh, we're getting so far away from our own nature, our own heart. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's why I think what's interesting what's going on is recycling. Last year
Yeah.
I got involved in a company up in Milan who does recycling. Anything, they said, "Do you want to be a part of this recycling thing?" I said, "Yeah, great, great." So I arrived at my studio, a box of like 20 pairs of jeans and jackets that had been pre-dyed. They were found, I don't know, they were old jeans. They were shoved through a vegetable dye
Okay.
color, and then they were sent to me, and my job was to print on them. Oh, I loved it. It was great. I could print anything I wanted. I could
Wow.
paint anything I wanted, and that was the first time I felt really free. I really felt back in the game.
Yeah.
And the stuff was sent back up to Milan, and they used it in a fashion show, and it was brilliant. It was great. It was really good seeing what you can do. They were jackets that were just ripped up,
Yeah.
and then I could do whatever I wanted to. I could put pearls on them. I could. It was freestyle, do anything. So
Yeah.
I loved it. So I got the old printing screens out again, and I think that's what is another thing is making do with what we've got. Sometimes making do
Yeah.
we really need all this new shit? It's
Yeah.
another that's another thing. I know
Yeah.
companies have got staff, they've got to keep up, but sometimes
Yeah.
they've got to
Well,
call it a
I
day.
think what you're also talking about is the distinction between the artistic form the design, the creativity, and then you're also talking about mass production. So there's kind of two different things going on, and today, because we're in clothes, we're consuming, we're, that kind of thing. So it's almost like, where do we go? I mean, especially with someone like yourself, where you did a fashion show, right, with this company, right, out of Milan. But those are how many pieces that you did, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
There's
yeah,
only
yeah.
there. It's so
30
what
pieces.
30
Yeah.
pieces, and where do those go? Like, they go to the highest bidder,
Yeah. Yeah.
really,
That's
because those are art. That's art pieces, even though it's recycled. I mean, it's
yeah.
really cool. I mean, I love that. So yeah, so I guess going forward, what's next for you? Like, what,
Yeah.
as far as your art form goes?
What's next for me? Well, I'm going back. I'm going back to my prints again. I love
Hmm.
printing is for me the first and foremost of everything I do. I can't. I wouldn't be able to design anything if I didn't have the print first. I have to have the print
Right,
first.
right.
But at the moment, I'm just doing animals. Animals. I just love animals. Just so I've I've been working on kind of in free time, just working on the great big prints of lions and tigers and monkeys and all
Yeah,
kinds of strange animals, insects and stuff, and using them as repeats on fabric. Well, I don't know what I'm going to make them into yet,
yeah,
who's going to wear them. But at the moment,
right.
I'm just working on these prints, and I'm just enjoying it.
Yeah.
And it's digital printing. I've never really done digital printing before.
Okay.
So I found a really nice company I live in Italy, but I found this really good company in the UK that really have lovely fabrics.
Nice.
And so I'm digitally printing on things, and then when it comes back to me, I'm then silkscreen printing on it again,
Oh,
over again. So I'm mucking about, I'm
that's
playing.
awesome.
I've got the chance to play again,
That's so
and
awesome.
I'm
Well,
doing that.
so
Yeah.
what happens when, 100,000 people go, I want that? It's kind of like a Doc Martin, right? I mean, right? It's like, I want that.
Oh, I love my Doc Martens. I've
Yeah,
won for years. I wanted them. I wanted this. I wanted them. Aren't they wonderful? Can you
I
see them?
love it.
I
Yes.
can't drive in them. I can't drive in them at all. I tried to drive the car. It's dangerous. I had to change my shoes,
Yeah,
but I love them. I've
I love.
always wanted a pair, and I could never afford a pair when I was in
Yep.
London.
Yep.
But I've got about 68 years old, and I've got a pair of Doc Martens. What about that?
Fantastic. I love it. I love it. I just got mine too in Scotland.
Oh, Scotland. Yeah, you'll need them for Scotland.
Yeah, I was like, oh, these are really cute.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So So what's going to happen? I mean, are you going to work with a company, like having a collection or something, and then
Yeah, I've got an
yeah,
exhibition there's a guy in England who collects all my stuff. He's been collecting it for like 15 years.
wow,
And he's got like and it's always he says, "Have you got anything you want to sell? Have you got anything you want to sell?" And funnily enough, when I cleaned my mum's house up, I found my old diaries from when I used to, 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. I've got to phone up George and find out if he wants that jacket or not.
wow,
Big line through it. So I found all these diaries. And I thought, well, I don't want them. I don't want to keep going back. So I gave him to him,
wow.
and so he's got like a whole collection of my stuff. And next year, about the end of next year, there's going to be an exhibition in Newcastle, somewhere up in Newcastle.
So exciting.
And Sean is going, he was the curator on the last
Hmm.
exhibition. He will be the curator again. And I'm going to be allowed to put in some of my new stuff that I'm doing at the moment. So I'm really looking forward to that because I'm going to be using some,
Fantastic.
what's the word? Can't think of the word. The things that are ethnically minded,
Awesome.
so
Awesome.
they're not they're not made of plastic,
Right,
basically.
right.
So
That's
yeah.
good. Yeah, that's so important. So you should definitely think about inviting Mr. Boy, Mr. George, Mr. Boy
Oh,
George.
yes,
Is he
he
going to
came
come?
to. He came to my other exhibition that I had down last year in
Yeah,
Winchester. He came to that.
that's
It's
so
on
awesome.
YouTube. It's called baking powder.
That was what it's called. I love it.
That's what it's called, baking powder.
I
So
know.
he really kindly came down to that, which was nice.
That's
And
awesome.
I got back friends with him again after so many years,
That's lovely.
long time. Because I moved over here 38, 40 years ago. So
That's
it's a
so
long
wow.
time,
It's a long time.
long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Miss London, Miss London, Miss London like crazy. But
Okay. Well, let's meet up. We'll
yeah,
go have a cup of tea.
have a cup of tea. Have a cup,
Let's
definitely.
go to the Wallace collection. I'll
Oh,
treat you to,
there's so many good collections. There's the Marie Antoinette one at the moment.
wow. Well, we'll have to go there, have a nice cup of tea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. So just we're gonna wrap it up, but I just wanted to thank you so much for your time, your heart,
Ah,
and your
that's
talent. And I think we're just really gonna help inspire a bunch of women. And so I want to leave everybody with, what is it that you would impart to young people, women, whoever, coming up in their art, they're in their field or wanting to just really express themselves. What kind of words of inspiration would you give them?
right. I'm ready for you on this
Are
one
you
because
ready?
this one is something I love. It is written by Eleanor Roosevelt, the
Okay.
brilliant Eleanor Roosevelt, and she says, "Life is meant to be approached with curiosity, courage, and openness to challenge. Never stop thinking of life as a challenge." I thought, I love that.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. And I really appreciate you. And thank you, everybody, for watching, listening. And we will see you next time. Be a badass goddess.